Hello and welcome to another episode of Nothing Ventured with me, Aarish. Today in the studio with me, I have Irena Spatzapan. Irena is managing partner at Systemic Capital, a VC fund spun out of the global climate advisory firm Systemic. Irena, really great to have you here with me.
Thanks for having me.
No, really appreciate your time. We're going to jump in with a bit of a quick fire so the audience can get to know you better. So what was your first job?
At the UN in Syria.
Okay, doing?
I was working for one of the UN agencies on the ground.
Okay, that sounds interesting. We may have to get into that off camera. What did you do before you got into the tech and venture ecosystem?
I was at Goldman for a long time in commodities, so I'm a power person by background.
Okay, and what triggered your move into building Systemic Capital?
2016, when the cost curves of renewables and you could see batteries were going to change everything, I decided that I should only focus on innovation.
Okay. And what do you think you'd be doing if you hadn't have built Systemic?
What I hope I will be at some point, which is permanently moving back home to the Italian Alps, and I really want to go into mountain rescue.
Wow. Okay, that's super cool. So let's talk about Systemic Capital for a second. What's the thesis, AUM, stages, geographies? What sort of check size do you write?
Yeah, so 140 million AUM. We typically do A, B. Very, very rarely we'll go into some kind of seed extension. We look into how the physical world and software come together. And so we are a specialist VC. We invest into three sort of macro areas, always B2B, we don't take consumer risk: electrification, decoding nature, and applied AI to the physical world.
Amazing. And if you were to think about three companies, either inside or outside your portfolio that you're excited about, what would they be?
I'll mention three companies. I mean, we have lots. It's always difficult to choose.
Yeah, no one wants to choose their baby. Yeah.
I'll mention three companies that I'm working very closely with, and but all three are incredibly exciting, but at very, very different stages. And I guess the earliest would be Podero, which is a heat pump aggregation business in continental Europe. The second would be kind of more middle of the pack, just before Series A, company called Electronex in the US, which will be the US first hourly power exchange, and the third, much more sort of scale-up company, by now cash positive, company called Omi, which is now Europe's biggest residential EV company.
Amazing. Well, we're going to get into a lot of detail during the main podcast. For the time being, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Nothing Ventured with me, Aarish. Today in the studio with me, I have Dan Pandeni-Iwenga, co-founder of the London Venture Capital Network. Dan, really great to have you in the studio with me.
Thanks for having me.
No, really looking forward to this. We're going to kick off with a bit of a quick fire so the audience can get to know you a bit better. What was your first job?
First job, I was a broadcast journalism intern at One Africa Television in Namibia. So basically following the crew to, relevant sites in the capital city to kind of record the news, and then also learning about editing and software and things like that. So skills that I've used up till now, actually.
I honestly did not know that about you. Okay, cool. And what did you do before you got into the tech and venture ecosystem?
So before that, when I was in university, I did my first startup company. So we were building speaker systems inside of vintage suitcases. From there, I went into corporate finance at AIG. So I got more traditional business experience. But I think from that tech exposure, I was just very hooked by the ecosystem and really wanted to, make more impact there and learn more about, tech and startups.
Yeah. Well, which leads me to the next question, which is what triggered your move into building LVCN, the London Venture Capital Network?
Right. So after I was working in finance, I joined a health tech startup. Through that experience, we exited, and then I joined a small family office investing into startups.
Yep.
And then from there, basically, I joined. I started studying at King's College London, where we built a community of angels and alumni investors, connecting everyone together and organizing really fun events.
Yeah.
And through that experience, I was able to start working at a fintech VC. But I never stopped organizing events because it was just something I loved doing.
Yeah.
I thought it was very valuable to build my network.
Yeah.
And people appreciated what we were doing. So at a certain point, it became a little bit big, right?
So you kind of formalized it.
Yeah, we formalized it.
Yeah.
And created London VC Network.
Yeah.
And I started focusing on that. So that's where we are today.
Amazing. And what do you think you'd be doing if you hadn't have built LVCN?
I would probably still be a VC investor, I would say, because it's just something I love anyways. So either I'd be in VC or I'd be in a startup.
Yeah. I think that seems to be like the most natural, most common response. We have had a couple of people that said they go into like restaurant, building a restaurant or something. But yeah, for the most part, I'd be in a startup or I'd be doing more VC. Let's talk about LVCN. Who's it for? What does it do? And what does it do better?
So LVCN connects the VC ecosystem in the UK and also globally. So we have a VC partner network of 34 firms at the moment, representing $24 billion of assets under management. We host the best events in VC in the UK, in our unbiased opinion. But we also do a lot of publications, VC education, training the next generation of VCs, whether experienced or more junior individuals. We train them with the skills and tools they need and the connections.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff in the main podcast, and obviously for the audience, I am an advisor to the London Venture Capital Network, so really happy to be doing this pod with Dan at the moment. But look, thank you so much for joining me today in the studio. We're going to get into a lot of detail during the main podcast.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Nothing Ventured with me, Aarish. Today in the studio with me, I'm really excited to have Ollie Harris. Ollie is an entrepreneur turned venture capitalist with a knack for spotting winning bets. Ollie is partner at Dream Ventures. Really glad to have you in the studio with me.
Thanks, Aarish. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really, really glad we could make it happen. I'm going to do a bit of a quick fire so the audience can get to know you a bit better.
Sure.
What was your first job?
First job was at Bank of Nova Scotia in the tech department.
Okay, and what did you do before you got into the tech and venture ecosystem?
Well, I got before I got into tech and venture ecosystem. Wow, probably the bank job was the first job I had, but it was also my last experience of being sort of in a controlled environment before going into startups and tech.
Okay, and so what triggered your move into joining and then building Dream Ventures?
Okay, so Dream, I think it had been, the culmination of 15 to 18 years worth of running, building, founding startups and raising money. And after all that time, sitting on the other side of the fence seemed like a good idea at the time. Yeah,
and what do you think you'd be doing if you hadn't have joined Dream?
I probably would be doing another startup.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an addiction.
Just sucker for punishment.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a lot of people with that sort of view. Sure. Let's talk about Dream for a second. What's the thesis, AUM, geographies, stages, check sizes? How do you
Yeah, so Dream Ventures is part of a single family office from Las Vegas that owns a media brand, and we spun the venture fund out at the end of 2022. It was a $50 million fund. The first fund. We're sector agnostic, but we do consumer as well. We're very much of the opinion that the best founders build the best businesses. We want to support the best founders, so we don't particularly stick to any category, but we do major on media, sport, entertainment, and consumer, because that's where we're from. And our second fund will do much the same. Okay, amazing. And if you think about sort of three companies, either inside or outside the portfolio that you're excited about, what would those be? Wow. So inside the portfolio, we're very market driven, right? So we're not following the trend, but we've been focusing our thesis on defense for the last 2 to 3 years, I'd say. And we've invested in a defense tech called Aurelius, which is an AI intelligence thing, which is super exciting, obviously very relevant at the moment. Outside the portfolio, funnily enough, there's a few interesting ones we're tracking. I love one called Elnora AI from Estonia, now moved to the US, which is to do with drug discovery and AI, which is just a crazy potential upside business. Without naming names, there's a few other interesting ones in the sports space that I think straddle tech and consumer, and I think that's the direction that a lot of sports tech's going as well. Yeah, I mean, people want to retain their audience, they want to entertain their audience, they want to monetize their audience, they want to understand their audience, and there's a few interesting companies bringing that sort of stuff together. And I think over the next 2 or 3 years, with the amount of data you can get through with AI now, I think we're going to see some really quality companies in that sector as well. Incredible. Well, we're going to get into some of this in a lot more detail during the main podcast. For the time being, thank you so much for joining me. You're welcome.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Nothing Ventured with me, Aarish. Today in the studio with me, I have Harry Morgan. Harry is a principal at 7% Ventures, a VC firm backing founders who aren't just building another app, but tackling genuinely hard, world-shaping problems. Harry, welcome to the studio. Great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Really excited to do this. Let's get started with a bit of a quick fire so our audience can get to know you a bit better. What was your first job?
My first job was working in a workshop with one of my dad's mates, sort of building things for exhibitions and events and stuff.
That sounds fun. And what did you do before you got into the tech and venture ecosystem?
I was a climate journalist and a co-founder of a company called the Cool Can Company.
Okay, climate. Okay, nice. What triggered your move into joining 7%?
I met them through two portfolio companies of theirs that I was raising some public funding for, so I found them through that.
Okay, and what do you think you'd be doing if you hadn't have joined 7%?
I probably would be working in a startup, I think. I'd like to get some more experience in sort of the Series A, Series B operational side. So maybe that. It's the
age-old adage of operator versus VC.
Exactly.
Which side of the table do you prefer? Maybe I'll ask you that offline. Let's talk about 7%. Thesis, AUM, geography, stages, and check size. Give us a bit of a rundown.
Yeah, so we invested in both frontier deep tech, so sort of step change, science-based technologies, as well as companies that are really transforming big laggard markets. Earlier stage we can, so often that's pre-seed. Sometimes if we miss a company at pre-seed, we'll do a check at seed. Has been a historically flat check size of $500,000. With the new fund they're about to launch, it will be 1 million at pre-seed, 2 million at seed.
Nice. Everything is going pre-seed, seed at the moment. If there were three companies from either inside or outside the portfolio that you're really excited about, what would they be?
I'm really gutted that we missed Space Forge. I think that's one that we've definitely tried to rectify with some other on-orbit manufacturing stuff. Isambard's a company I really like at the moment in the UK. And Prospectral is another one on sort of the sensor stack side of things.
Amazing. Well, look, we're going to get into some detail during the main podcast. For the time being, thank you so much for joining me. Hello and welcome to another episode of Nothing Ventured with me, Aarish. Today in the studio with me, I am really excited to have Marcus Clover. Marcus is the co-founder of Energy Revolution Ventures, or ERV. Marcus, great to have you here in the studio with me.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to kick off with a bit of a quick fire so the audience can get to know you a bit better. What was your first job?
I worked at a catering company, setting up marquees and serving at parties.
Okay, sounds good. And what did you do before you got into the tech and venture ecosystem?
Straight out of uni, it was university. Straight out of uni, I was hired as employee number one in my first startup I worked at.
Okay, and what triggered you to move into building ERV, Energy Revolution Ventures?
Really excited by the space. And actually, my brother, who's one of our investors, we got together with him and 4 other families. And we started to give this thing a go.
Okay. And what do you think you'd be doing if you hadn't have built Energy Revolution Ventures?
Probably building my own startup.
Yeah, in the climate space and the energy space?
Yeah.
Okay. And let's talk about ERV for a second. What's the thesis, AUM? What stages, geographies you invest in? What sort of check sizes?
We're an energy tech fund. We specialize in electrification, so deep tech around energy transition. It's our fund one was $18 million. We're working on our second fund now, which is going to be a bigger fund. It's a global fund, and we invest in sectors like energy storage, renewable fuels, carbon capture, and advanced materials.
Yeah, and presumably pre-seed seed?
Our venture builder is pre-seed, but then our main fund is seed Series A.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about the venture builder and some other stuff in the main podcast. In the meantime, if there were 3 companies from either inside or outside your portfolio that you're really excited about, what would those be?
Anthro, they make polymer electrolytes for batteries. Blixt, they're providing the hardware layer for making energy software controllable. Yeah. And Green Lion is a very interesting modular battery recycling solution. Okay.
Clearly a very, very exciting, interesting, and of the moment space to be investing in, I guess. We're going to get into that detail during the main podcast. For the time being, thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure having you here.
Looking forward to getting started.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Nothing Ventured with me, Aarish. Today in the studio with me, I am really excited to have Dr. Andrea Issoni. Andrea is Chief AI Officer at AI Technologies. Really great to have you here with me.
Thank you, Aarish. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. We're going to start off with a bit of a quick fire so the audience can get to know you a bit better. So tell me, what was your first job?
My first job was, fair enough, is exactly where we met at Founders Factory. It was a data scientist and you were working for another startup.
Yeah.
I was working on another startup. And that was my first job.
That was the one that turned into Grip, I think, right?
Yes, that's right.
And what did you do before you got into the tech and venture ecosystem?
I did a kind of a internship with what is now called faculty. And before that, I did my PhD.
Okay. And your PhD is in?
Computational fluid dynamics.
So what triggered your move into building AI technologies?
After my PhD, I have, kind of a crisis, as in what I want to do in life. I didn't want to stay in academia. At that moment, it was kind of starting or bubbling, probably is the better word, what it was called data science or things like that. Therefore, I thought, hey, I have the right skill set because academia is related to that, and why not? I like it to do, technical stuff. That's why I decided to go.
Yeah, I mean, we met in 2015, so it's already been 10 years.
Yes.
And what do you think you'd be doing if you hadn't have built AI technologies?
I don't know. I like so much what I do that I never thought about that. All the other probably would be a consultant or something related to consultant with another company.
Okay. All right. Cool. Let's talk a little bit about AI technologies. What does it do? Who's it for? What does it do better?
Yeah. So we do AI solution for other clients. Basically, bespoke solution you cannot buy out of the shelf, and there are two ways to categorize them. Either you have a return of investment, as in we do a project that enhance the efficiency for the client. You have different metrics for efficiency. It's not just time and resources. There are other, for example, insurance is reducing the cost of the premium, stuff like that. The other one is intellectual property. Basically, there are companies that need to do something more creative, let's put it that way. There's not exactly existing in the market. They don't know if it works. That becomes an intellectual By the way, when I say intellectual property, I mean it. There is an external audit that put a price tag on whatever we did. That becomes an asset of the company.
Amazing. Well, look, we're going to get into some detail on what we really want to talk about on the podcast, which is AI and where we're going. For the meantime, thank you so much for joining. I think it's going to be a good one.
Thank you.